channel. Thanks for tuning in once again. Andrew Fleur here from True Condos. We have a new opportunity for you in Calgary. It's a townhome opportunity. These are pretty rare, and we're going to talk about that in this video. Let me just minimize myself here so you can see Pine Creek Townhomes from Truman Homes, and we're going to talk about that in this video, as I mentioned. However, before we do that, I wanted to get into something else, and that is a few videos back, I introduced this concept called 5 to Freedom. And the basic idea of that is how you can purchase 5 investment properties, starter homes and condos in Canadian cities, and from that, you can achieve financial freedom. So I had a lot of people contact me and reach out to me about that. So I wanted to go a little bit more in depth on that in today's video before we get to this specific opportunity. So let's do that. So 5 to Freedom, I'm going to just make myself disappear here in, not make myself big, but I want to go the other way. Gone. There we are. Okay. 5 to Freedom. So 5 to Freedom, again, the concept is you purchase 5 investment properties, rental properties in Canadian cities, starter homes and condos. And through that, you can achieve financial freedom. You can actually exit the system if you want to. That is, you can quit your job and live entirely off your investments. The beauty of this is you don't need 10, 20, 30 properties. You don't need to be a multimillionaire. You don't need to wait decades in order to achieve financial freedom through real estate investing. And I'm going to show you a little bit more of a breakdown of how that actually could look for you. The number one thing I will say is this is going to be different for every person. Every person's path to financial freedom is different. Taking a step even further back, every person's path to freedom in general is different. Some people might be pursuing other types of freedom other than financial freedom. There are many different freedoms, and we might talk about that in a future video. But for this purpose, we're primarily focusing on the idea of financial freedom. That is the ability for you to not have to work in order to live. And how can that be achieved through real estate? So let's talk about that. Let's give you my example of how it works. 5 to Freedom. So again, starts with the foundation of you got to buy 5 properties. So 1 is not enough, 2 is not enough, 10 is great, but you don't need 10. You don't need 20. You just need 5 starter homes and condos in Canadian cities. So many of you watching this video, you've already got 1 or 2 probably, and maybe you bought them 5 or 10 years ago, and these numbers are looking familiar to you if you bought in the GTA. If you're just starting out and looking to get into the market, you're saying these numbers are insane, Andrew. You're not going to get these prices. In Toronto, that is true. In GTA, Ontario, that is true. In Calgary, it is still possible. And that's why so many of our clients are investing in Calgary right now. As I said in the previous video, this is a generational opportunity in Calgary. Make sure you go watch that one again to see what I mean by that. So you get 4 condos and a house, say, in this example. Purchase price, approximately $2 million. That's the key. You want to get around $2 million worth of assets. It says $400,000 average price. So those 5 properties, when you blend them together, they become your $2 million freedom tree. 4 condos in a house, purchase price around $2 million. So let's say you started with that today. Now, again, everyone's at different stages of the journey, but let's say you just went out today and you bought 5 starter homes and condos like that. It was approximately $2 million value. What would that look like? Well, today, the value is there. Over time, the value, of course, grows. You start with a $2 million freedom tree. You've got $400,000 of equity, of course, 20% down. What does that tree look like over time, over a 20-year period? Well, if you do absolutely nothing, and if you just assume conservative amount for appreciation and conservative amount for mortgage rates based on the last 20 years of history that we have, you're looking at, in 20 years, that $2 million freedom tree will be a $6.4 million freedom tree with $5.7 million of equity over that period of time. So 400,000 equity to $5.7 million of equity. That is, on the surface, absolutely Amazing. You're thinking, Andrew, I love that. But what do I do with that? How does that help me get this financial freedom? Well, the way that you do that is you break this down. So over a 20-year period, your average equity growth, the amount that your tree grows every year, average is $265,000 per year. Okay. So in the first few years, that number is going to be significantly less than that amount. In the last few years of the 20-year period in this example, that number is going to be significantly more than $265,000. But over a 20-year period, it will average $265,000 of equity growth per year. Your tree is getting bigger and bigger every year, producing more and more foliage and fruit, and just looking better and better and getting more and more mature. So what do you do with that? Well, as I said in the previous video, for most people, these are just figures. It's going to be different for every person, but you can prune off $100,000 per year and live off of that income. Again, for most people, if you say, can you live off $100,000 per year, especially if you're not paying any tax on it? Again, refinancing, you do not pay tax on that money that you pull out of a property. You can prune $100,000 a year tax-free, which, by the way, is equivalent to $145,000 based on current tax rates in Canada, $145,000 salary. So it gives you $100,000 after taxes per year. And as you can do the quick math and see, you still have $165,000 per year on average of new growth equity on your tree. So one of the most common questions people ask me is, well, Andrew, if you're pulling money out of your properties all the time and refinancing them, doesn't that defeat the purpose of investing? Aren't you just drowning in debt? And again, it's completely up to you how much debt and how much equity what the equation looks like for you. But in this very simple example, you can pay yourself $100,000 a year tax-free, and you still have more money sitting in the property, accumulating in the property bundle every single year. So that is the basic concept of 5 to Freedom, using a specific example of how it actually could work. Now, again, different for every person, simplified very much so for the purpose of this video, yes. But I hope that was useful for you to help you sort of think through what financial freedom through real estate investing could look like for you. Again, you might be brand new on this journey, looking to buy your first of the 5 properties, or maybe you already have 2 or 3 properties and you're a lot closer to financial freedom if you want to go that route than you initially realized. So let's talk about an example here of a great opportunity that you can add to your freedom tree, one of these properties, and these would make an amazing investment to add to the portfolio. Pine Creek Townhomes by Truman Homes, 10% deposit. We have a 2-year rental guarantee. They're not going to be completed for about 2 years. 2024 Q2 is the estimated completion. Prices are from $479. Again, 3-story, 4-bedroom townhome with a 2-car garage in the city of Calgary, the 4th biggest city in Canada, for $479. You cannot get anything in Ontario for probably less at this point, similar to this. I mean, it's 6, 7, 800,000, even if you go 3 hours away from Toronto. In Toronto, of course, this type of property doesn't even exist, but if you could build this type of product, you'd be looking at probably $1.5 million for something like this. Again, Calgary is the affordable housing capital of Canada right now, and that's why so many of our investors are getting on board. These are in Southwest Calgary, by the way. Great location in Southwest Calgary, one of the best pockets in the city. These opportunities sell out very quickly. We've sold a number of projects, of course, in the past few months as you've been watching these videos, seeing me come out and tell you about them, and then shortly after they are sold out. So Harlow condos, 300 units, that was the last one we did, sold out in just 1 week. Normally, you might receive a few emails from me about a project. That one, I think you only received 1 email from me if you're receiving my email updates, and it was already sold out. So these things are just moving quicker and quicker, it seems, as more and more investors are jumping on the Calgary train and realizing the opportunity that we've been talking about for 2 years here in Calgary. By the way, segue plug, make sure you go back, and if this is your first time watching one of our videos on Calgary, definitely go back and watch the past few videos to look at the opportunities, the breakdown, the analysis that I have been providing to our investors about what's happening in Calgary, going over the story of the market there in more detail and giving more statistics than you're getting in this video. So again, the point of this slide is just to show there's only 72 units of these townhomes. They're going to sell extremely quickly. If you're interested, do not delay. Here's some new info in the news this week. I found this story just very telling of what, again, illustrating the point of Calgary, Canada's most affordable housing market. So here's a clip from Toronto for how 4 millennial co-owners got into Canada's least affordable housing market. That would be Toronto. So good for them. You got 4 millennials joining forces together, 2 couples, I believe, and they're buying a house in Toronto together. I mean, that's the links that people now have to go to be able to afford something in Canada's least affordable city, i.e. Toronto, versus, again, the opportunity in Calgary. More and more young people especially are realizing the opportunity in Calgary and the incredible affordability vis-a-vis Toronto and Vancouver. And they are fueling the Calgary market. People are migrating from Toronto, from Vancouver to Calgary like we have never seen before. Talk to any Calgary real estate agent on the ground who's making your phone ring lately, and it's Ontario and BC buyers. And another common question that people ask me about Calgary related to the oil industry and the history there. Again, watch all the previous videos for more detail on that analysis. But they say, common question, Andrew, what industries does Alberta have? What industry does Calgary have other than oil? If I'm investing here, is that, I'm putting, it's a shaky economy. There's no industries other than oil. First of all, that's completely untrue. It's a myth. But what I like to say is, look, whatever industries that Toronto has or Vancouver has, Calgary now has also. What I mean by that is the pandemic, the past couple of years, the work from home revolution. You can now keep your job in Toronto and you can live in Calgary. You can keep your job in Vancouver and you can move to Calgary and live a much higher quality lifestyle in terms of housing, in terms of just living in a great city for a much lower cost while still maintaining your job in those other cities. You can work from home from anywhere in so many industries and jobs right now. So again, what industries does Calgary have? Well, whatever Toronto has and Vancouver has, Calgary now has as well. And this, we would never think about saying this 2 years ago, but now it's actually reality. And here's another recent chart I just came across reminding you again, Calgary, yes, it had its economic struggles, but the facts still remain that Calgary has the highest average incomes in Canada of any city. Alberta has the highest of any province. Look at these stats, the latest stats from 2020. Alberta's average incomes way above every other province, including Ontario, and definitely British Columbia as well. So again, one of the things we've been talking about, highest incomes with the lowest housing prices. You don't have to be a rocket scientist. You don't have to be a real estate genius to know where prices are going to go in a market like that, where you have high incomes and very low housing prices. That's Calgary. So once again, that concludes this video. I hope you found that useful. I hope you're especially thinking about the 5 to Freedom concept a little bit more, and we'll get more into that in future videos as well. If you are interested in this particular opportunity, Pine Creek Townhomes, again, starting from $479 in Calgary with a 2-year rental guarantee, only 10% deposit, please hit us up. These are going to sell very, very quickly. By the time you're even watching this video, it might already be sold out. But if you're interested, send us a text, give us a call. If you're ready to reserve your unit, fill out your worksheet, truecondos.com/worksheet. And there's probably links below on this video. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can get more details. Until next time, have a great week. Happy investing, and we'll see you soon.